So this here right in front of me is a $300 gaming laptop. And I know there's a ton of people out there saying that getting into the gaming industry is really expensive. And while that's entirely not wrong, there's actually a ton of ways that you can save money and get laptops like this for a really cheap price. So this right here is the Asus ROG GL703VM. It has an i7-7700, a GTX 1060, 16 gigabytes of RAM, and a 17-inch display. And although this is older hardware, you're still gonna be able to get a ton of really good performance, especially in a ton of games and apps. And yes, the hardware is very old. I mean, the CPU is about 8 years old, the GPU as well. And you know, the entire laptop was made in 2016. So this is a very old laptop, but that doesn't mean that the performance is gonna be necessarily bad, which you're gonna see later. The GPU actually in this laptop is better than the modern GTX 1650, which by far is probably the worst GPU to get, especially right now. And yes, even though it is older hardware, you're gonna see later, obviously, that it actually can still perform really well. And something that I actually really like about this laptop is that even though it is 17 inches, it's still pretty thin and lightweight. I mean, for a laptop that is this big, this is pretty light. I mean, normally it would be around 3 to 4 pounds for a laptop this big, but I'd say this is around only like maybe a pound and a half. It's very light, especially compared to the competition. And even laptops in that day and age are very heavy. Honestly, the design of this laptop is actually still very modern. I mean, if you brought this out to public, this would still look pretty modern. Like, it doesn't look like it'd be a laptop, you know, that was built in 2016 or 2017. So pretty good, you know, design that they kind of put together here. It's still the classic ROG design that you can still see on modern laptops. But overall, especially for a 17-inch laptop, this is pretty thin and lightweight. And something that I actually really like about this laptop as well is the port selection, which is definitely a problem nowadays that, you know, laptops come with almost no ports. But on this side, you're getting a full SD card reader, a USB-C, and 2 USB-A ports. And on this side, you're getting the charging port, a full Ethernet cable, which is really nice, a mini display port, and a full HDMI port, and 2 USBs along with the headphone jack. So overall, this is a pretty good selection of ports. I mean, compared to laptops nowadays, which, you know, sometimes don't even give you 2 USB ports, this is very, very solid. So this is going to ensure that you can still plug in, you know, your mouse, your keyboard, and you can plug in any kind of accessories, and you're not going to have a problem with, you know, having to deal with dongles, which is really sucks. And for the keyboard and trackpad, you're getting a pretty solid pair of it. I mean, you know, it's a $300 laptop. I wouldn't be expecting anything crazy, but I mean, the keyboard works, especially if you're just going to be doing normal stuff like typing, and even for gaming, it's still going to be pretty solid. Same goes for the trackpad, but I mean, you know, I'm kind of spoiled because I have a MacBook and they have some of the best trackpads, and compared to them, I mean, this trackpad is pretty bad. But honestly, you're not going to be using the trackpad very often anyways, especially if you're going to be gaming with this thing. Because think about it, who actually games with the trackpad? Like, if you actually do, you know, I mean, I don't really know what you're doing, but yeah, most people are going to be using gaming mouses, so not really going to be the biggest issue. So if you're just going to be using it for, you know, like productivity and stuff, it might be annoying, but it still is a very usable trackpad. As for airflow, there aren't that many vents on this laptop, and especially with these older designs, you know, airflow wasn't really the biggest, kind of the main thing a lot of companies focused on, especially with the laptops that I've seen around this age. So you're gonna see that there are some like vents on the bottom. You can actually see, I think that's a fan on the bottom right of your screen. I'm not too sure, but there's some vents on the bottom there. And then you also have some vents on the back side here. As you can see, these are probably the best vents that you're going to find on the laptop. But yeah, so not that much ventilation, especially compared to newer designs, but you know what, it's kind of to be expected. And another disadvantage to getting a laptop like this is the battery life. So if you're going to be gaming on this, it's probably going to last an hour, like realistically at most. You could get a battery replacement, but most likely a lot of these laptops, especially the bigger it gets, and depending on the specs inside, it's going to definitely not going to last that long. Most people are going to be using it plugged in anyways. I mean, if you're going to be gaming, you're probably at a place that has Wi-Fi and definitely has a plug, but it is good to know that you're not going to be able to get the best battery life from these gaming laptops. And something with older laptops which you're going to experience is just kind of how slow it is, and you might think that is coming from the specs, but it's actually probably coming from the hard drive. So a lot of these older laptops do still run a spinning hard drive, which really slows down the computer entirely. One of the best ways to improve a computer's speed is by adding an SSD, which is going to make the performance so much better. So if your laptop doesn't already have an SSD, this one doesn't actually, so it takes a while to open up games and even get into Windows. I'd recommend getting an SSD because it's going to speed up the process of pretty much everything. And upgrading an SSD into these laptops laptops are actually not that hard. A lot of them are really easily to, you know, disassemble and put it in. So you can even get a shop to do it if you want, but most likely you're going to be able to do it for yourself and not spend that much money. Okay, so I'm going to bring the camera around here so I can actually show you some of the benchmarks so you can see what kind of performance you're going to get from this laptop. Okay, so how can you actually find a budget gaming laptop like this? So obviously you're not going to find this in a store. You're not going to be selling this old of a laptop at this price range. So you're going to have to use the used market. I actually picked this laptop up from Facebook Marketplace, but you can use any type of site like Craigslist or OfferUp. And yeah, that's most likely how you're going to get a laptop for this price range. I doubt you're going to find it in any other way. Yes, there are a lot of risks that come with buying used, but you are able to save a lot of money, especially if you know how to buy from these used markets. So, you know, when you go to pick up a laptop, make sure you actually check, you know, the condition of it is good. It looks like they did take good care of it. Make sure all the ports work, make sure all the keyboard, you know, all the keyboard keys work, trackpad work, the screen is not cracked, stuff like that. Make sure you are actually buying the product that is being sold. So, you know, just being precautious and, you know, looking at the laptop, making sure that nothing is broken, and you are able to save a lot of money, especially on things like tech parts and, you know, computers. So yes, there are risks involved, but you can save a ton of money, especially if you are on a low budget. I mean, you're not going to be able to find anything, you know, new, especially from, you know, going on Best Buy, Amazon, any kind of tech store. You're not going to be able to find anything to buy, especially under the $500 price range. So yeah, this is pretty good for $300. I mean, you're able to run a ton of different games. And would I recommend actually buying this gaming laptop? I mean, if $300 is all you have and you need it in a laptop form, I mean, go ahead. This is still going to give you pretty good performance. But for $300, let's just say you have $300 and you don't want it to be a laptop, you can easily get a pretty good gaming PC if you used parts. You know, if you use Facebook Marketplace, you are able to build a pretty solid $300 gaming PC, which is going to give you a lot better performance compared to this laptop. But obviously it's not portable. You still will have to invest in a monitor, a keyboard, and a mouse. So, you know, there's benefits to both, but you will get most likely better performance from a PC. And if you are able to save up some money and you are able to get a better laptop, especially if you go even up to the $750 mark, you're going to be able to get a pretty solid laptop that is going to perform a lot better. So if you do actually have the time to save, or you can actually save money up, I would recommend doing that. You're going to be getting a laptop that lasts a lot longer and will be getting a much better performance, especially if you're trying to play games that are more highly graphically intense. So that's going to be it for this video. I hope you guys did enjoy, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Peace.